For the past 3 years, I've poured nearly 3,000 hours into one absolutely massive Minecraft project, building the fantasy world from a book I wrote back in college. Every video, I crank out a new city, and thanks to my crippling imposter syndrome, I'm always trying to one-up myself. Last episode, I thought I hit my limit, but then I noticed something. There's not a single tree. So now I'm overcorrecting. Hard. Because today, I'm making the greatest treehouse city Minecraft has ever seen. Alright, here's the plan. Today we're building an entire forest civilization tucked beneath the branches of a massive magical god tree. So naturally, we're starting with the tree. Every great tree starts with a solid trunk. I want the trunk to be twisted and gnarled, something with a real character. Luckily, I've got the perfect tool for that. I use a ton of building mods, but one of my favorites is a plugin called Easy Edits. For the trunk, I'm using a feature called Easy Spline Rope. Basically, I lay down a path with gold blocks and it generates these twisted, interlocking spikes along it. I can tweak the spike count, thickness, twistiness, you get the idea. It takes a little messing around to dial in the right settings, but once it looks good, I save the command and run it on the main build. Once it's all done, it makes a little turd looking thing. That is what we want. Boom, base trunk done. Now it's time for the roots. I've made a lot of trees before, so roots aren't really a big deal, especially with the Easy Spline tool. It makes cool shapes fast, but I don't know, these aren't really doing it for me. Wait, idea. This is a magical god tree, so why not have the roots coil around a massive glowing orb, like a primordial seed pod? It'll look sick and make for an epic interior later on. Sweet, that looks pretty good. Let's move on to the branches. Now, I'm pickier than most when it comes to branches, probably because I used to be an arborist before I was a YouTuber, basically a doctor for trees. I'd climb up them, prune limbs, and help trees grow stronger. Now, does that matter in Minecraft? No. But I still want this tree to feel real. It's supposed to be thousands of years old, so it needs a strong, healthy structure to support that. But here's what I don't want to have happen, and it's what most people do when they build trees. One vertical stick, a bunch of limbs from one point, slap on some leaves, done. But that's not a tree, that's a vegetable. And no offense, I did it too. In real life, that shape usually means that a tree's under stress, maybe from bad pruning or heat, whatever. But for a tree this ancient, we want something more natural. Real hardwood trees have one strong central lead with several dominant branches growing off the trunk. Then smaller branches grow from those. It's like a skeleton. The lead is the spine, the main branches are the limbs, and all the little twigs are fingers. And those fingers have fingers? Okay, the metaphor's falling apart, but you get the idea. This area is called the Forest of Paraprax, one of the most mysterious and powerful places on the continent. Few humans have entered here and lived to talk about it, but lucky you, you've got the inside scoop. This forest is home to two unique races, the Narifon, which are mystical tree spirits, basically like dryads, and Tengu, crow-human hybrids who serve as guardians of the forest. You can think of them as bird ninjas. Together, they protect rare magic users called Solsticeborn, and they guide them toward a kind of spiritual awakening known as lucidity. Right now, we're building the Great Loomwood, a massive magical god tree at the center of the forest. It connects everything in this area, and it's where the Solsticeborn go to awaken their true potential. But we'll dive deeper into the lore later. We've still got a tree to finish. We're off to a good start, but we're not done yet. These are just the main branches. Now it's time for the grind. It might not look like I'm doing a lot here, but on my side, I'm using an editing tool called Axiom to shape every single one of these curves. I'm using something called the Path tool, setting points, pasting, unpasting, tweaking, repeating. It's a slow process, but totally worth it. Okay, it was worth it. This stuff gets old pretty fast, so I'm switching it up and saving the branches I've already made as schematics and copy pasting them around. This is gonna say boom. That took a bit, but look at this thing. It even looks solid from all angles. Mostly. It's not done yet, don't judge me. I really want to throw some leaves on this thing, but first we need terrain. Believe it or not, this tree's almost hitting the world height limit. I don't want to risk building terrain that's too tall underneath. So let's get started on that. I gotta conserve height as much as possible, so I'm not putting any crazy detail in here. But don't worry, there's some wicked terrain coming up next. Okay, yeah, I think that's gonna work just fine. If I paste at Y level -64, we've got about 30 blocks of clearance before hitting the cap. Man, should I build smaller? Nah, let's go build some mountains. To the right, I'm adding a big mountain range. Not totally sure what'll go here yet, but it just feels right for the composition. Looks a little bare in the back though. Let's throw in some larger mountains back there. To build these, I'm using Axiom's elevation tool. By clicking, I can raise or lower blocks. But here's where it gets cool. I can import height maps, and Axiom will use them to create realistic elevation changes within the brush's radius. It literally sculpts a mountain range from an image. How wild is that? Alright, it's balanced, but everything still looks kinda samey. Let's try and shake things up. This is a mystical forest, not some filler terrain. The landscape should spark curiosity, so I'm splitting it into 2 distinct biomes, each with their own vibe. For both of these areas, I'll be taking pretty heavy inspiration from the Ori games, some of my absolute favorites. And this isn't a sponsor, I just love these games. This shot in particular nails it. There's distinct explorable areas that just pull you in. I'm not gonna copy it exactly, but let's call it inspired. On the eastern side, I'm gonna split this mountain range into floating islands. Kinda Ori style, but more natural looking. I've got a solid workflow for this thanks to the Sunken Farlands build from a couple videos ago. Here's how I do it. In Axiom, I grab the shatter tool, adjust a couple settings, and drag it across the mountain, just like that. Now that they're separated, I can grab each one and move it around, or delete it, so that it looks like they're almost exploding outwards, while still kind of fitting together. See? Then I do a quick smooth and rockify command from Easy Edits. Don't ask me what rockify does. Honestly, I couldn't explain it. It rockifies stuff. And just like that, floating islands. Now I just gotta do it in the terrain. These shattered cliffs are the perfect home for the Tengu, a race of pro-human hybrids. Legend says that they were monks who came to the Loomwood seeking enlightenment, but they failed the Loomwood's trial. Their transformation is a result of that failure. Now they live as eternal guardians of the forest. They still view it as a certain kind of ascension, so it's not a punishment, but a consolation prize. They get pretty awesome ninja powers and armor, ability to fly, so it's not a bad trade. Alright, I think that looks pretty sick. I should go do the other side, but man, this leafless tree is bumming me out. Let's finish that up. I'm super excited to finish it, but it's no small task. This thing hits the height limit, so we've got a lot of leaves to place. To speed things up, I'm using Archeon's boulder brush for this. I'll just take any tool, of course it has to be a shovel, and plug in this command. That makes a blob of leaves within these defined XYZ ranges. I just point, click, and boom, leaves. Now I'll just go around each branch node and map out where the main leaf clusters go. Alright, looking good, but this is just phase 1. Now I shrink the brush all the way down and go back over each leaf blob, shaping them into real clusters. It's a grind, but it's worth it. I don't want this to end up as a big leafy blob or a mushroom canopy. That's not how tree canopies work. Technically, the way a tree's branches and leaves are distributed is called the lay of a tree. Each tree has its own, kind of like a hairstyle, and we are not giving this one a bowl cut. Okay, it's finally starting to look like a real tree. I was hoping the second pass would be enough, but there's still some pretty undeniable lumpiness. So I'm going for a third round with the smaller brush. To speed things up, I'm gonna switch tools. With the scatter brush from Easy Edits, I can spawn tons of small leaf clumps in one click. The command's pretty complicated though. Don't worry about the details, just know it creates this, and it saves me a ton of time. Nice. The scatter pass really helped break up those ball-like blobs, but we're still looking more lumpy than fluffy. To fix that, I'm gonna employ a method that I learned from my friend Juno, the hollow noise offset method, and I came up with that name, so I get credit for that too. Ha! First off, I'm gonna use the hollow command to hollow out these leaf clumps. Then, I replace about 10% of the leaves with air blocks. I'll run that command a few more times until it feels just slightly too thin. Then, I copy all the leaves, move diagonally and up by 1 block, and paste it down. Alright, yeah, that did it. The shape's still there, but now it actually looks like a canopy, not a lump. Sweet. And now the final touch, adding some texture. Easy Edits has a really cool texturing command library. I've gone over it in another video, so here's the short version. I'll just make a palette, run this command, and Easy Edits automatically textures the leaves with those blocks based on a specified light source. That looks so good. Let's move on to the base. With the terrain in place, it's easy to plot out route paths. I'll sketch them quickly with Axiom's path tool and then run a spike command to finish them off. Awesome. We're done, right? Right? Yeah, no. This tree's massive. You don't get this big just by eating your Wheaties. There's gotta be magic involved. The forest of Paraprax is powered by a magical fungal network, tiny glowing strands of luminariza, commonly known as light roots. These light roots form a symbiotic relationship with regular plant life, providing it with more nutrients, water, and other stuff that promotes growth. They work like a fantasy version of real-world mycorrhizal fungi, which connect to plant roots and exchange nutrients for sugars. It's a real thing, look it up. But light roots, they take it further. They pierce the surface, run through the entire tree, and perform arcanosynthesis, a process that converts ambient magic into energy. And yes, I made that word up. And no, I will not apologize. Plants connected to light roots grow faster, stronger, and can basically live forever, as long as the roots keep glowing. Pretty cool, right? And with one final texture pass, the outside of the tree is done. The blue glow from the light roots adds so much. Alright, let's head inside and finish it up. The inside of this tree is the most important area in the entire forest, the Loomwood Atelier. And that word, I don't know, but it's means workshop. Yeah. Over thousands of years, the luminariza fungi have woven themselves into the very fibers of the tree, creating an otherworldly glow and a potent magical presence. Inside, the air is thick with lightroot spores, which are tiny particles of pure magical energy. When touched, they flood the mind with visions of magic's true origin. Because of this, the chamber serves as the final trial for the Kudarim, an order of monks who are the only humans allowed in and out of the forest. They're friends to Paraprax, guarding its borders and protecting it from external threats. The most worthy monks enter this space seeking lucidity, their form of spiritual enlightenment. The ritual lasts 3 days. If a candidate is successful, at the end of the 3 days, the monk is found at the top of the chamber, in serene meditation. If not, they're changed. Failed aspirants are found at the entrance, reborn as Tengu. Alright, the walls are looking great, but the chamber itself needs some more life. Time to make some custom assets. First things first, mushrooms. I'll be taking some inspiration from these designs that my friend Dabdy made with me a couple videos ago, so huge shout out to him. Thanks, Dabdy. The light roots are the main organism of the fungus, but these mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of the luminariza and are critical for spore release and colony expansion. Plus, they look cool. Next, I'm building large glowing orbs surrounded by roots. These are going to be nodes of magical energy stored by the light roots. The roots around it signify the tree protecting this energy. Alright, looking good. Let's paste them in. I'll place one of the glowing orbs in the center with strands of candles and end rods spiraling outwards. These represent the light root spores spreading throughout the chamber. Yeah, that works. Then I'll layer in moss across the floor and scatter mushroom clusters throughout the chamber. With that, I think this is done, inside and out. Sweet. I don't want to go too overboard by adding furniture or anything like that. This is supposed to be a shrine to nature. We'll save the cozy interiors for the other buildings. Speaking of which, on to the next part. The tree alright, still gotta finish the other side of the terrain. Let's go. This side of the terrain is going to look very different from the floating rocks we did earlier. I want to carve runic markings directly onto the cliff face, something inspired by Ori's glowing temple designs. But I've kind of done this style before. These cliffs, that city, look familiar? Yeah, let's try something fresh. Instead of alchemical runes, a Celtic knot engraved across the cliff. I'll build the knot design separately, then project it onto the stone using some technical mumbo jumbo. I'll explain when we get there. First, let's make the knot. Celtic knots are intricate looping designs. You've probably seen them before, even if you didn't know what they meant. They can symbolize a bunch of stuff. Religious meanings, love, protection, and a bunch more. Now, did I pick mine for its deeper meaning? No, I thought it looked cool. I tried, then I thought, the pattern keeps inverting, rotating, and mirroring, and every time I mess up one section, it ruins the rest. And yeah, I know it doesn't have to be perfect, but if I don't do it perfectly, the world might explode and it'll be my fault. Thanks a lot, OCD. Alright, I give up. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. It's not a knot, and that's what matters. Let's get it onto the cliffs. I'm gonna try my best to project this onto the cliffs without breaking stuff, but that's not exactly easy. The main process is a little technical, so I'm gonna simplify it so you guys don't fall asleep. First, I'll line up the schematic with the cliff face. Then, I'll use a smear command to push the magenta wool against the cliff like this. Once that's done, I replace the stone touching the magenta with pink wool, just a placeholder block. With the pattern established, I'll indent those areas by a couple blocks and then swap out the placeholder blocks. Here, I'm just going to use acacia wood. Then, I repeat that process until it looks right. Alright, looks pretty good. Now, let's make this look like an actual landscape. For a stone cliff texture, I'm using Easy Texture Ambient, which is a little different from the command I used on the tree. Instead of light source based shading, this command textures blocks based on how much air surrounds them. The more air touching a block equals brighter surface. That's the short version anyway. If you want a deep dive on it, check out my friend Meg's video. She explains it way better than I can. Alright, let's texture this thing. First, I'll make a palette from dark to light. Yeah, it looks good. Then I'll save it, select the cliff, convert the acacia back to placeholders, run the ambient texture on the stone, and run it again on the markings. Oh yeah, that looks amazing. Final step, add a splash of moss and natural spots, and boom, done. This side has a completely different vibe from the floating cliffs, just like I wanted, though it still feels a little bare. So let's fix that by building some smaller trees. Most trees that I build turn into giant mystical landmarks, which aren't exactly backyard material. Seems to be a trend for me. But bigger isn't always better. This time, I'm scaling things down to create smaller, more realistic oaks that could actually fit into a vanilla world. No one does this better than my friend Juno. His trees are clean, elegant, and don't go overboard. While it's easy to go massive with custom trees, Juno's minimalism stands out. Being the good friend that he is, he offered to let me use his trees, but I'm trying to learn.
But it would be faster.
I'll be fine. It's not like this video is gonna take 6 months, right? Yeah, I'm bad at time management. Okay, these are looking solid. They're a bit big for vanilla trees, but I'm okay with that. Now that I've got a few done, I'll split their branches into assets. That way I can reuse and tweak them without sculpting every branch from scratch. I can also use Axiom to stretch and shrink their skeletons for more variation. It's not automatic, these definitely need some cleanup, but it helps me get an idea of the shape quicker. And the diversity of shape helps. And done. Man, I made a lot of these little guys. Well, time to paste them into the cliffs. I can't wait to see how they... Yes, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I'll probably scale a few down later, but overall, these fit perfectly. And with that, the terrain is pretty much wrapped up. Now the fun begins, the tree houses. I'm loosely basing these houses on a build I did years ago with my friend Ara. Even though I was pretty new to building at the time, I'm still pretty proud of it. But I've grown a lot since then, and I want to improve on the concept. To get a feel for the style, I'm doing a handful of test buildings with my buddy Grayson. He's a pro at fantasy builds like this. I wanted to start off small for this first test. I learned from the last video that doing a bunch of gigantic test builds can be a huge time sink. As cool as it was, we're not going to do that again. Since he's more practiced in this fairy tale style, Grayson handled the house design while I focused on the natural parts, the trunk, the leaves, and the branch structure. Honestly, a couple years ago, I would have called this done, but I want to go further. I need to elevate the style past this point. So, how do we do that? First, I'll add in some really smooth curves, and while I do that, Grayson will come up with some more natural details to give it some interest. But the real game changer, stairs and slabs for branch smoothing. It's super grindy, especially with this color palette, which has like no stair slab options. Come on, just need a color between dark oak and spruce. Please, thank you. Also, I'm terrible at smoothing on this scale, so it takes me forever. But hey, it paid off. This looks way more refined than it did a day ago. Alright, time for the next test. For the second test build, I wanted to mix things up. If I just make a bunch of buildings that look the same, it's gonna get boring fast, and I'm not gonna learn anything. So this one leans more house than tree, almost a totem pole vibe. I worked on the base, Grayson handled the midsection, and we also brought in our friend FDs, an expert in organic shapes, to build the top canopy. Hopefully I'm able to osmose some techniques just by working alongside him. If you want any of these builds for yourself, they're all up for download on my Patreon. I try to make it worth your while, and you can grab what you want and cancel anytime. No hard feelings. These huge projects take a ton of time, and the only reason I can keep making them is because of my patrons. Seriously, you're the only reason this channel can exist. So, thank you. Okay, that's looking great. Bringing in D's was definitely the right move. Those twisty branches, they look awesome. I'm still proud of the roots I did down here, even if I'm not on his level yet. But we're not done yet. Let's finish it off with some details. It only took a few seconds in the video, but man, this stupid oval took forever to get right. It's angled in such a weird way that made it nearly impossible to shape properly. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm definitely overthinking it. While Gray and I were busy spiraling, FD's knocked out the canopy. His method's totally different from mine, but it looks incredible. Nope, I still hate that oval. I'm fixing it. I don't care what you guys say. Much better. Couple final touches, and boom, test 2 complete. Honestly, I think it looks awesome. Could have pushed the texturing a bit more, but hey, there's always room to grow. I love how the detailing plays off the black concrete. I'm definitely going to take that idea into the next builds. Alright, test builds are done, time to dive into the real structures. The last 2 tests were total opposites, one really organic and one really structural. For the actual builds, I want to blend, right smack dab in the sweet spot between the two. First up, the Wind Forge. I took the lead on the earlier builds, but this time I'm only working with FDs, so I can see what I can learn from him. Here's what I've picked up so far. D's is super intentional with positive and negative space. Every root is placed to avoid clutter and enhance the shape. Along with that, he focuses on the outer silhouette of the build above all else. It's really important. While he fine-tuned the lower roots and platforms, I started blocking out the upper structure. But as soon as I shaped out the branches, D's jumped in and started smoothing them. It was scary, actually. He was like a hyena. I was salivating. Yeah, I guess I'll work on the buildings then. Honestly, fine by me. Structures are more my thing anyway. I built this little circle hovel, a forge, some houses on top. It was nice. I was proud. Oh my god.
I'm done.
How?
Well, I did it. You know?
No!
Alright, well, I'm gonna go work on the leaves. Just, do your thing, little guy.
Ugh, I'd be mad, but it looks so good. D's made the smoothing look easy, and I was feeling a little out of my league, but I still added in details like these wind chimes, stairs leading up to the second level, and
Aw, nice chimes, buddy.
don't patronize me, D's.
Okie dokie.
Finally, I put in this crystal thingy, which is totally important lore-wise, and that's why I put it in. Turns out, this isn't even a crystal. It's a Luminarizer power node, like these spheres that we built earlier. It looks like it's floating, but actually is connected to the colony through microscopic invisible fungal roots, conveniently. This node powers the Wind Forge, which, as you might expect, doesn't use fire. Cause, you know, tree. Alright, quick texture pass, add some bushes, vines, and grass, and boom, exterior is done. This one turned out amazing, and I learned a ton. Let's head inside and finish it up. The Wind Forge is the main weaponsmith for the Tengu Guardians, but since it's a tree, traditional fire forging is out. Instead, they use compressed wind magic channeled through the Windfork Bloom, a hollow light root node that performs a special version of arcanosynthesis. It condenses atmospheric wind magic into high-speed energy. You see these glowing blue parts of the forge? These aren't windows, they're wind tunnels. Insanely high-force air blasts through them, and skilled smiths use that pressure to shape the metal. The grooves along the tunnels act as bracing stations so that the smiths don't lose control mid-forge. Huge thanks to the commenters who dropped lore ideas for this build. If you want to help me expand this world, let me know your lore suggestions in the comments. Some of the best moments in these videos start with something that you wrote. Who knows, your idea could be the next thing I spend a couple hundred hours building, so no pressure. The interior was feeling a little empty, so my friends Rail and JP offered to decorate once I got the structure down. I'm not really a decor guy, but they sure love it. Rail added machinery, tools, and workstations to bring the whole forge to life. Wow, this turned out incredible. It's a tight space, but Rail really nailed it. I'm so happy with how this build came together. Now that the forge is complete, it's time for the next Tengu structure, the Whisper Hall. I'm kicking off this build solo to practice the shaping techniques I learned from D's, focusing on branch flow and silhouette. With the base layout in place, Grayson jumped in to handle the structures while I focus on branches and shaping the overall form. After that, I hauled out the main body and marked the window placements, still keeping that balance of positive and negative space in mind. Alright, time for the scary part, smoothing branches. Eventually, I hit my limit. Thankfully, D swooped in to rescue me. Now I can finish the detail work with Grayson. I started things off with a quick easy edit texture pass and then added glowing magical windows. Honestly, this is one of my favorite touches. I didn't mean to make a yin-yang design here, it just kinda happened. But it works, and it's pretty fitting since this is the HQ of the Order of Half Moon, the Tengu Guardians of the Forest. The Whisper Hall is the central stronghold of the Tengu, built into a massive tree with 4 tiers, the armory, a meditation chamber, archery range, and a melee arena. It's both a sanctuary and a war temple for the forest's most elite defenders. We'll dig into that as we head inside. Once Dee's added in the canopy, and Grayson and I polished up the details, the outside of this thing was complete. Nice. This might be my favorite one so far, but we're not done yet. Let's go inside and knock out those 4 levels. Floor 1 is home to the armory. This is where the Order of Half Moon store all the gear that they need to protect the forest. Everything from weapons to armor to basic adventuring gear can be found in this room. Up on the next level, we have the meditation chamber. Though they're warriors now, the Tengu were once monks. They haven't forgotten their roots. This space is for reflection, focus, and preparation. It's the perfect area to prepare for a mission or to reflect on the events of one. Floor 3 is home to the archery range. Easily the biggest space in the Whisper Hall, this is where the Tengu practice their most iconic skill. They're world-famous archers, widely considered the best anywhere. But even though they're famous archers, they aren't one-trick ponies. Or crows, I guess. They also train in reversal-based martial arts. It's all about using your opponent's strength against them. I mean, they kinda have to. They're birds. Throwing haymakers would kinda be a problem. You know, hollow bones. This turned out amazing. Rail never fails to impress me on how he can transform a space. Seriously, give him some major props in the comments, guys. This was not an easy area to decorate. Man, that fighting ring looks so good. It almost looks like spotlights in a real boxing ring. With the interior complete, the Tengu faction builds are done. Sweet. Now we can move on to the big one, the Circus of Spores. But before we dive in, there's one really important thing we need to take care of first. Over the last few builds, I realized that branch smoothing eats up a ton of time. And in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not that important. But if it's not done well, it drives me absolutely freaking crazy. But then it hit me. I use assets for everything else, so why not branches? I got the green light from Dee's to dissect one of our previous builds and started building a branch asset library. And just like that, I have a solid collection of reusable branches. It won't eliminate smoothing entirely, but this will save a lot of time. Alright, back to the main event, the Circus of Spores. The Circus of Spores is a traveling emissary troupe from deep inside the forest of Paraprax, and the only group officially allowed to leave its borders. Even though they travel, the circus still needs a home base, so we're starting with their permanent venue. Once a giant cave, it's been transformed into a grand subterranean amphitheater. Long ago, the Narifon planted a sapling from the great loomwood tree here, and with the help of Lightroot, it evolved into a species that can survive without sunlight. And be proud here, I didn't go crazy on smoothing. It's pretty dark in here, so most of it's not going to be visible anyway. I'm just doing enough to keep it clean. Sometimes you gotta prioritize. Then I'll just really quickly add in the branch assets I made earlier to give the limbs a bit more body. And a quick pass with the boulder brushes to add in the leaves, and okay, looking good. This cave should be big enough, and the tree's pretty solid too. Still kinda dark though. Oh, I got a great idea. Since this tree can't photosynthesize, the Lightroot colony extends past the leaves as glowing tendrils. They work like bioluminescent mushrooms, but they have thinner syn walls, allowing them to absorb way more magic in place of sunlight. They'd be too delicate to survive surface weather, but underground, they're perfect. Yes, these glowing tendrils add so much atmosphere and light. This is actually starting to feel alive. Now that we've got the basic parts in, we can start making this place look like a venue, not just a big empty cave. The circus's main purpose is to find solstice-born, rare individuals capable of reaching lucidity. They travel all throughout the continent, performing acts like illusions that give audience members cherished visions of their past, Tengu acrobatic aerial displays, and Narifon sorcerers that manipulate spores into vibrant, colorful retellings of myths. Basically, think of them as magical movies. These aren't just performances, they're tests, subtle magical patterns that help identify those with solstice magic. Once identified, the child is gently encouraged to explore their path. A small charm might be given. This charm leads them to the forest when they're ready. Okie doke, this is starting to come together. I've got the main floors and walls all lined out, and got the bleachers in too. It's actually starting to look like an amphitheater now. It's even got, I don't know, concession stands over there? Yeah, maybe. Well, they look great, so I'm keeping them. Alright, let's polish this up. After dropping in the circus emblem and adding some lighting, I went to the center and did my best to mimic a trapeze. It's not perfect, but it works. And it might be a little hard to see, but up here I also put a tightrope. These finished up the main stone staircase, I added in some greenery and mushrooms, and the main venue was complete. Nice. But we're not stopping here. There's still tons of empty spaces backstage. We're not going to fill everything, but JP and Rail are stepping in to help with a few rooms. Directly behind the Loomwood tree is a series of essential areas that performers use when preparing to go on stage. Here in the atrium, any of those rooms can be accessed, along with a lounge area for performers awaiting their cue. Through this hallway, there's a storage room. It's not glamorous, but it is essential. This is where all the props and gear are kept. Right next door is the preparation room. This is a quiet space for all those performers who are trying out a new act, or just getting their nerves out before a show. It's got a hot tub, a fireplace, and lounge areas. This is probably the most popular room for circus performers. Across the atrium, there's the dressing rooms. Here, giant petal curtains cover individual alcoves in the walls that give performers a private place to prepare or do costume changes. The main area is filled with wardrobes and shelves to house every costume that's needed during a show. Okay, I don't love clowns, but it's a circus, so we need them. Still, clown makeup seems a little, messy, so it makes sense that they wouldn't want all this stuff in the dressing rooms. To keep the mess to a minimum, all of the clown makeup is done here in the Spore Paint studio. Here, the kind performers can dutifully transform into nightmare fuel without bothering the rest of the circus. Whoa, we did it. I don't like it in here. Alright, awesome. This place took a ton of work, but honestly, totally worth it. Rail and JP did such a great job on these back rooms too. And I know it's a small thing, but this trick using ice for the mirrors is just so smart. Good job, Rail, again. And God, I hate clowns. With the circus venue done, it's time to think about what happens because of it. Housing for the Solsticeborn. And I wanted to try building this next one using only the branch assets. Maybe it'd save time. Oh yeah, this looks awful. I knew that was gonna be too easy. Alright, let's do it the hard way. The assets are great, but using just them means losing precision. So to start off, I'm gonna be shaping manually. Then I'll use the assets to bulk up the canopy afterwards. Alright, solid starting point. Time to bring in the crew and build this thing together. When a lucid candidate is found by Tengu scouts, they're brought to the forest. Because Solsticeborn traits are more noticeable in younger people, a lot of new arrivals are children or teenagers, so they need a place to live. What I'm building right now is an orphanage run by the Circus of Spores. A sporphanage. Yeah, I hated that one too, but we're gonna roll with it. This is shaping up nicely. Might be the best one yet. I'm actually happy with that. Alright, let's finish this up. The smoothing was the biggest hurdle, but now I can get to the fun stuff, the details. Dee's put in the canopy, worked on the central window, and I went around primping the rest of the build. Quick texture pass with easy edits, add in some banners and vines, and polish it off with some more crystals embedded into the twisting roots. And boom, done. And yes, I say this every time, but this one really is my favorite. The twistiness, ooh, it's just so good. Now for the inside. Other than the circus and the tree, this is the biggest one yet, so there's a lot of room to fill. I've separated this entire tree house into 3 levels. One for a classroom, one for dormitories, and one that's dedicated to the caretakers. Let's start at level 1. Just because these kids live in a magical forest doesn't mean that they get to skip school. Sorry, if anything, these guys need more education. Solsticeborn are named due to their ability to wield solstice magic, widely regarded as the most powerful magic type in this world. They can be extremely dangerous. That's why the Narifon prioritize empathy, and it starts here. Thanks to the teachers being retired circus performers, they have a wide range of knowledge about the world, and can give the Solsticeborn first-hand insight into everything from culture to magic theory. Above the classroom is the dormitory. This is where the Solsticeborn sleep, hang out, and I don't know, what do kids do? Read? No. Play Wizard Fortnite. Yeah. Once I got the basics built, JP came in to decorate, and as always, he nailed it. He made this awesome custom bed, and then turned it into these really cool lofted designs. After decorating them with some leaves and greenery, he filled out the rest of the space with desks, toys, and other small details. On the final level, there's a magical observatory called the Ember Room. Here, there's a large lightroot bloom on the wall that's specially attuned to detecting dangerous warning signs that occur in the students' dreams. If a problem's detected, the lightroot relays information to the Narifon caretaker so they can adjust their curriculum to help. JP came in and spruced up the walls, I added in some ceiling decor, and he filled out the rest of the empty space with really awesome lab equipment. Once that was done, we moved over to the side area. The Narifon aren't always on the clock. Even sentient light-root dryads need to relax every once in a while. The caretaker den gives Narifon a place to relax and de-stress. They don't sleep, but they still need to recharge, especially when raising future world-shaping spellcasters. I put down the basic layout as a guide, and then JP went through and added a bunch of little decorations to give it some more life. These small touches are what gives the build story. They're small, but extremely important. And with that, looks like we're done with the Sporfinage. Still not loving that name. But wow, this build turned out so good. Inside and out, it's a total home run. Alright, we've got the Tengu and Circus buildings done, along with the Loom. I'm gonna go solo. I learned a ton working with Grayson and Dees, but if I can't pull this off myself, did I really learn anything? Also, I asked and they were busy. Thankfully, with easy edits in my trusty branch assets, the base shape came together fast. Alright, looking good. It's a little smaller than the other faction builds, but honestly, that's fine. Going huge would have just burnt me out. Alright, let's smooth it out. Here's where all that practice finally pays off. I'm actually starting to understand Dee's smoothing method. Turns out, the secret isn't talent, it's just hours of grinding. Anyway, the smoothing's done. Looks awesome. Let's move on to detailing this thing. Welcome to the Bloomhold Conservatory, a vital hub in the forest of Paraprax. While the Narifon mainly raise Solsticeborn, they're also world-class healers. They cultivate rare and extinct plant species crucial to advanced healing, plants the outside world doesn't even know exist. And to finish it off, I'll texture it with easy edits, add in the canopy, some final details, and it's done. Look at that. And I'm actually really happy with how it shaped up. It's hard to believe I spent months on this project, but I guess you really can grow in that much time. But that's enough of me patting myself on the back. Let's finish this one up. Due to its primary focus on cultivating rare plants, the lightroot blooms here are unique to all others in the forest. While these ones are just here to boost production and sustain the life of the structural tree, the special ones are off to the side. They're translucent. This unique adaptation allows the passage of sunlight into the conservatory, giving even the most delicate plants the best chance of survival. Once I was done adding all that in, JP did a final pass to decorate. On floor 1, he added in a main desk area where the Narifon druids keep logbooks and track the growth of each plant. The rest of the floor was filled with lab stations, water sources, and growing areas, each tailored to a specific species' optimal needs. And something super cool about this building. These guys have a magic item right here that infinitely replenishes its water supply. No matter how many buckets you take out, the level instantly refills. I mean, just look at this. Isn't that awesome? On the intermediate levels, JP added in a bunch more plants, a workshop, probably for testing fertilizers or something, and a storage area. Finally, the top level is a small room where the rarest plants are stored. Here, they receive the most sunlight and magical energy from the light roots. Man, that took a while, but the effort definitely paid off. With the Bloomhold done, the faction buildings are now 100% complete. Let's go paste these bad boys in. You know, it's been a while since I've been over here, but I'm not entirely happy with how this terrain's spaced out. Sounds like a lot of work to redo it though. Yeah, but I'm gonna redo it.
Good morning and afternoon to all viewers across the globe. This is The Dugout, and we're your hosts, Week and Big Salmon.
Hey, but you can call me Crush. And today, we got big updates for you all. In fact, we have live footage from our News Chopper 9 of Shovel himself working on his latest project.
Let's go ahead and pull it up.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the legend himself. Building what appears to be something. It's really not looking good.
Wait a minute, it appears he's removing a part of it? Thank heavens. I'm a little concerned, Sam, and I'm unsure what's going on through his head right now.
It can't be much, Week, but it seems to be no problem, as now he's rebuilding that same part in almost an identical fashion. I think it's marginally better, but was it worth the 4 hours it took?
No, not at all.
And that's going to be it for Shove Nation updates. We'll be back soon with more, but now we're going to send it to our man on the ground, Fitzgerald Dees, with the latest on parkour. Take it away, Dees.
We've been together in like 15 minutes this morning. I didn't even know we were doing the parkour segment today. I thought we were just gonna... Oh, we're rolling? Okay, yeah. Hey, here's the parkour. It's a 2-block jump. I'm just gonna demonstrate it. Okay, got this. Here we go. Yeah! Ah! Oh.
Alright, I think I'm happier with how that looks. And it only took one cutaway. Nice. With that done, let's get the big buildings pasted in. Yeah, I don't just want to spam these same towers everywhere. A couple repeats are fine, but too many ruins the scale of the loomwood tree, and honestly, it just feels lazy. I need some smaller houses. Good news is I don't have to build every house from scratch. These faction builds are packed with unique bits that I can extract and repurpose into new structures. See? Right now they look like random scraps, but with a little tweaking, I can turn them into something new. Now that I'm in asset mash mode, I can capitalize on the natural treehouse style. Even if these pieces aren't perfectly house-shaped, they don't need to be. All you need to do is paste a bunch of them together, make sure that it's enclosed on all sides, and then add in some branches, leaves, and greenery to tie it all together. The branches are like the visual glue that binds all the pieces together, making it all cohesive. This way, I can build a bunch of unique houses really quickly, while still keeping them all in a similar style. Plus, there's a bunch of really cool decorative elements in some of these builds that I want to highlight with their own structures. This method allows me to explore those ideas without completely starting over. When you build at this scale, efficiency's set. No, I didn't redo the front terrain again. Please don't turn this into a story.
Hey man, look, we don't work for you. The people gotta know.
Yeah, our boss is the truth.
Yeah, we don't play around.
Truth,
Yeah, truth.
To mix up some of the details, I also took a couple of these big crystals from a build I did a while ago for the AI Biomes 2 video. If I just add in some roots, I think it'll fit in nicely. These look awesome in the world, but I've hit the same snag. There's just not enough variety, and some of these builds are still pretty huge. I need even smaller houses. But I've used up all my current assets. Time to dig through the old shovel cache. Alright, let me see. Not that. No, not that. Definitely not that. Wait a minute. Ooh. Hey, Gray.
Shovel. Yeah, what's up?
Can I use some of these old village houses we made a couple years ago?
You mean that old trash over there? Of course, you can pick it up. Do whatever you want with it.
Thank you. Sweet. We've got a bunch of new assets to work with, but they come with a little bit of a catch. I made them a couple years ago before even starting on YouTube, and back then I was a little less precise, so I'm gonna have to clean these up. It's not really worth watching, so smash cut. Okay, all cleaned up. Now I can just adapt these guys into the palette of the other houses, and we're good to go. Sweet. Let's make some more houses. I hate myself for this one. I forgot to hit record, but take a look. Probably the best one that I made so far, and I forgot to record. Freaking idiot. Yeah, what the heck. While I'm here, why don't I make a cool looking spirit tree too? Just for fun. I'm feeling inspired. Okay, now we're talking. Between the faction towers and all these new tree houses, I built so many for this area. I'm gonna have to count them. But if this isn't enough, nothing is. Alright, let's paste them all in. Yeah, super glad I took the time to add more. The variety in size and shape makes everything feel way more natural, and it makes these big builds feel really big. Once a few were in, I started connecting them with paths. There's still more detail to add, but this gives me a great foundation for the layout. This outer portion is going to be the residential district for the Solsticeborn who opted out of the monastic order, or just decided against the lucidity trials. Not everyone wants to risk becoming a crow. Even though they aren't aiming for enlightenment, they're still welcome here in the forest. And since it's more residential, I'm packing houses closer together. A lot of these folks grew up side by side, so they're used to cozy living. Alright, that didn't take long at all. And now this place feels so much more alive. Now I can move on to Oh, yeah, right. Pasting builds saves a ton of time, but it doesn't make them magically fit the terrain. I can reduce cleanup with a few tricks, but I can't avoid it entirely. Yet. Maybe Mulberry will come up with another genius addition to Axiom. Who knows? Right now though, we've got this mess. See how some of the houses are half buried or just floating? Yeah, floating on purpose is cool. Floating by accident is kind of an immersion killer. So I've got to go around all these buildings and clean them up. When one's done, I'll mark it with a red wool ball on top, like that. Simple. Alright, one down, only a bajillion to go. Great. To you guys, this village section might have looked like a quick couple of minutes, but for me, it took weeks. Let me explain. Right as I got started on this part of the project, my girlfriend got a job. across the country. Thankfully, because of all you watching, I can work from anywhere, but she can't. And as soon as we got the news, we had to move in under a month. If you've ever done that, it's a lot, guys. I tried to keep this project going while relocating our entire lives, but it wasn't easy. So yes, that's my official excuse for the horrible upload schedule. I'm trying, guys. I'm sorry. Love you though. Alright, cleanup's done. It's looking way better now. But walking around still feels kinda empty. Not very immersive at ground level. I could just spam trees, but that's a pretty weak fix. Forests are way more than just trees. Since there's a bunch of rivers running through the town, having a few bridge designs on hand will definitely come in handy. I'll make one that's more intricate and established like this, but not all bridges need to look man-made. One thing my older forest builds lack is realism. Take this swamp for example. What's missing? That's exactly right, all the trees are standing perfectly vertical. If you've ever been in a forest, you know that's not how nature works. I got comments about the lack of deadfall, and you know what? They were right. So here I'm going to start making some fallen trees. They'll make great bridges and add realism. I'll make a few large ones and a handful of smaller versions for variety. That should do it. Next up, rocks, big ones, boulders. I've used command generated ones in the past, but they've always been pretty big. I want these ones to be player scale and a lot more detailed. And since this is a magical druidic style, I think it makes sense for there to be some cool runic carvings on their flat faces. Sweet. These are going to be really handy. Now we're going to have to do something about the lighting situation. This is a pretty natural area, so I don't think having the classic Victorian style gas lamps would really fit in this space. So instead, I'm making these wisp light trees. They're dead trees, but instead of rotting, they've been taken over by the light root fungus, which feeds off of the tree's remaining nutrients and magic to glow brightly under the canopy. They take more effort than basic lanterns, but they'll add a ton of atmosphere to the forest floor. Okay, we've got a solid chunk of assets now, plus a bunch from earlier in the project. I think it's time for a quick deco test to see how they all work together. Starting to feel a little repetitive. Let's make more stuff. A few fairy ring mushrooms will add some variety to the ground, and a dozen or so pond designs will help us easily drop in natural water features. Water always makes the space feel more alive, and while we already have a lot of trees, sprinkling in some spruce trees never hurt. I'll be using and adapting these spruce tree designs that Juno let me use. Thanks, Juno. Finally, I made some bush assets to fill space. I was a little worried it'd look repetitive, but check this out. With Axiom Stamp Brush, I can just save them all as blueprints, add them into the stamp brush, set the brush to apply gravity, and set the spacing to really close. And look at that, I can't even tell that there's only a couple designs. It's almost like having a custom texture brush. So good. Even though it's really natural, this is still a village. We need a few human touches. Garden boxes, they make perfect sense. Plants thrive here, so residents would definitely grow their own. And having things like these braziers is going to make it really easy to add communal outdoor spaces where citizens can hang out. And after digging up some old leaf designs from my Ursaros build, oh man, what a throwback, I adapted them into druidic market stalls with smaller branch assets. Alright, I think we've got enough now. Might be an understatement. Let's bring this place to life. I'm going to start on the outer eastern edge of the forest. I want to get a feel for the process of decorating with these designs, and this area is lower stakes. Since it's on the outskirts, this zone's basically just forest. It acts as a natural barrier for anyone who's not Solstice born. Most outsiders that get lost in the thicket are gently redirected by Tengu scouts. And if that doesn't work, they send the clowns after them. Alright, that test went pretty well. Let's head into the village. The goal here is to make things feel immersive without clogging up the main visual flow. It's like a tightrope walk trying to balance the two. Every asset I place down is a needle to thread, but after some trial and error, I've got a solid rhythm going. Walking through here feels super immersive, especially with the trees overhead. I'm definitely getting that enchanted forest vibe. Next up, we've got the center section. At the base of the loomwood tree, I'm gonna add in some mushrooms. I've got to be careful to add just enough to give it some interest without making it look noisy. Yeah, that looks pretty good, but this central river's pretty boring. So I'm gonna fix it up with seagrass, moss, and vegetation. I learned this trick a while back in the Wraithen swamps and it works. Now I'll just really quickly add in some decor on the center bit, and there we go. Eastern half's done. Only took, 2 days. Yep, this is a lot, but we're only halfway done. So off to the other section. It might just look like I'm spamming a bunch of assets down here, but there's a method to the madness. Here's how I build these spaces. First, I clean up the rough edges of the terrain to get a clean canvas to work with. Then, I'll go around with stairs and slabs to carve out walkable paths that feel natural. After that, I place major assets like rocks, ponds, larger structures, and wisp-light trees. Around each of those larger structures, I start layering in smaller logical details. For instance, this market stall might be selling food, so I'll add a hearth right next to it. Then, that hearth gets its own supporting pieces. Each layer builds off of the last until the space feels full and lived in. Next up, I'll add in some more of the natural assets. Smaller rocks, fallen trees, fairy rings, stuff that feels foresty without needing context. These fill empty spots and help break up the visual rhythm. Even with all that, it still doesn't look like a dense forest. Way too much sky showing here. So now it's time for mass use assets like mushrooms, bushes, and trees. Using Axiom Stamp Brush, I can scatter mushrooms with natural variation. They add depth fast, but if I overdo it, the spot ends up looking messy and noisy. Gotta be sparing with this. Next, I'll add in some big trees. These are the immersion makers, but also the biggest risk. If I drop too many or place them carelessly, they'll overwhelm the scene. I use these only where they enhance the space. Next tier down are the small and medium trees. These serve the same purpose as the big trees, just lighter touches. They help fill a vertical space without dominating everything. Once the trees are in, bushes go down next. They're great for tying everything together and adding texture to the ground level. And to wrap it up, I'll smack the moss blocks with some bone meal for some micro detail. There's probably better tools to do this out there, but I like the Minecraft native feel it gives. Plus, it keeps things looking wild without going overboard. And done. Looks great. This section took a few hours and I finished about 5%. Yay. All right, let's Alright, I think that's pretty good. Let's move on. I don't want to just have this area be a facade. Here's what I mean. There's a bunch of cool cliffs off in the distance that way, but back here, it's pretty open. That's not gonna work. So really quickly, I whipped up a little bit of terrain on the northern border of the forest. It won't be shown in the main thumbnail, but that doesn't mean it isn't important. And with that, I think this place is shaping up nicely. Just a couple proof checks left, and we'll be ready to wrap up. Okay, now it's time for the fun part, taking a step back to see if the past few months were really worth it. This project pushed me harder than anything I've built before, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I make these because I love them, and because you take the time to watch. I want every second, every frame to be worth your time. So I'm gonna keep going all in, and I'm grateful that you're here for the ride. Seriously, thank you for watching.